Hey everyone, my name is Mayday. I am a Marvel Snap creator and part of the Marvel Snap Creator Program, and I am here with a new series to explain the lore and origins of Marvel Snap characters. Specifically today, we are going over Araña. This is a series that I've wanted to do for a while, and it's taken a little bit to get it off the ground, but I hope you're excited. We're gonna start with Araña, because I feel like not many people really know about her and her origins too much. Really, most people just kind of know she exists as kind of a B-tier character. Not that she hasn't been adapted into anything, she's gotten steadily popular, but I feel like not many people really know about her, as opposed to a lot of the other characters. But I do want to go back and look at all of the characters in this season of Marvel Snap, this season being the Spider season of Marvel Snap. I really love this season, and I wanted to go through all of these characters, but I figured starting with Araña was probably the best thing to do. Anyway, who is Araña? Let's get into it. So, Araña was a teenager named Añya Corazon. So she was a kind of a spunky high schooler, she was a gymnast, and she was the daughter of a reporter. And her mother was actually a part of a secret organization known as the Spider Society. So the Spider Society is very weird. Essentially, it's tied into this whole part of Spider-Man lore that is very controversial and very divided amongst whether it's a good idea or a bad idea. It's definitely canon now. But essentially, this was introduced when Ezekiel Sims was introduced into the Spider-Man lore, explaining to Peter Parker that potentially his spider powers were not the result of just science fiction and radiation, but rather destiny and fate. Essentially, spider gods do exist. There is a spider god named the Other, and there's such a thing called the Web of Life and Destiny. The Web of Life and Destiny is a kind of metaphor for connecting all of the spider people in the multiverse together. Every spider person is known as a spider totem, which connects them to the multiverse in a sort of mystical destiny way, where every character who gets spider powers was destined to become the spider person of that universe. There can be multiple spider people in a universe, but they all are connected together through the multiverse. The Spider Society is similar to that. Now, you might recognize the name Spider Society from Across the Spider-Verse, which is what McGill O'Hara forms. This is not that Spider Society. This is a totally different Spider Society, which is very confusing, but bear with me. Essentially, this Spider Society was a very ancient group of knights from the Dark Ages who worshipped the Other and other spider-related gods and got superpowers through mystical means. So, how does Araña fit into this? Well, the Spider Society still operates in the modern day, pretending to be a company under the name of WebCorp. Añya Corazon was kind of a spunky teenager who was kind of a rebel, and she saw someone getting beat up in the park late at night on the way back from high school and decided to try and help. Unfortunately, she got stabbed and mortally wounded. It turns out that these people were goons of this organization called the Sisterhood of the Wasp, which are the main arch nemesis of the Spider Society. They are directly opposed to them, and they kind of worship wasp totems as opposed to spider totems. Don't worry, they won't be really relevant to this story again. They are just kind of there to be the antagonist to the Spider Society, and not much is explained about them. But the person that Añya saved was a member of the Spider Society who saw that she had the potential to join their ranks, and so to save her life, transferred his power that he got from the Spider Society into her, granting her the abilities that the Spider Society members have. These abilities include basic spider powers. She can't spin webs or anything like that, but she does have like super strength, superhuman speed. What this does give her is this strange ability to form this organic armor over her. This is something not really touched on with Araña too much, but I actually think that it's very cool, in that she basically forms a spider-like exoskeleton around her in order to fight, and it like increases her strength and durability. As you could imagine, I think it's really cool. But she gets all of her abilities from this tattoo that is now mystically implanted on her, and she becomes one of the Spider Society's hunters, essentially a hero working in the Spider Society's interests. Her dad is a reporter. He has been a reporter for a long time. When she started becoming part of the Spider Society, he got, like, interested and suspicious, and he was eventually, warded off, and he kind of supported the idea of her becoming a superhero. And Añya decided to take the name Araña. Araña is Spanish for spider, so it's a bit on the nose, it's not very original, but it was actually a name that she chose because it was her mother's maiden name. I'm assuming her mother had that maiden name because she was a part of the Spider Society, and that's how Añya was in tune with the Spider Society's interests, and she had the potential to become one of their hunters, but it's not very well explored. So her origins was in Amazing Fantasy Volume 2. So if you want to check out Araña's origins, Amazing Fantasy Volume 2 is where you would want to look. But yeah, she becomes Araña, she becomes a superhero. Her main costume is the costume that she is wearing in Araña's base art for her Marvel Snap card. So after becoming Araña, she gets into, some adventures. It's very, I have to go to high school, but I'm also a superhero under the society. Eventually, she decides to quit the Spider Society. It doesn't really, fit her interest, but she still gets to keep her powers. Eventually, Civil War happens, and Araña is on the list of superheroes that Iron Man wants to bring into his side of the war. Now, Araña doesn't become a part of Civil War, really, officially. She's just kind of hanging around in the background. However, Ms. Marvel, who is Carol Danvers was going as Ms. Marvel at the time. She hadn't become Captain Marvel, and she was wearing this outfit, which I actually understand why she doesn't have it anymore, though. But Araña actually got recruited by Ms. Marvel to help her with some things that were going on in Civil War at the time, and Carol Danvers actually becomes kind of like a surrogate mother to Araña. Now, there is a point where Araña actually loses her superhuman exoskeleton. It gets ripped off her by a villain called Doomsday Man, leaving her hospitalized. Her dad, Anya's dad, actually files a restraining order against Carol Danvers, but they all get it patched out eventually. I think that was dropped, and yeah, Carol Danvers kind of continues to be a surrogate mother to Añya. Añya doesn't have her spider powers anymore. That got ripped away with her spider armor. However, she was able to continue as Araña because of the tech that she developed. That tech being that she has a spider grapple hook that allows her to swing just like Spider-Man. As I said, she doesn't have any spider webs, but she can swing around the city using the spider grapple hook in kind of the same way. It's also somewhat robotic. It can automatically track and latch onto buildings without her actually needing to aim, fire, and make sure that it's latched on properly. It does it all automatically because she's also kind of a super genius as well as a gymnast, but that isn't touched on too much with this character. After continuing as Araña, this event called Grim Hunt happens in the main Spider-Man books. Grim Hunt is where Kraven's family wants to resurrect Kraven. Kraven died during Kraven's last hunt, probably one of the most famous Kraven stories ever. But yeah, spoilers, he dies, and the Kraven family wants to resurrect him, and the way they want to resurrect him is by, mystically sacrificing, different Spider characters to bring him to life, because technically Spider-Man was the one that killed him. Doesn't make much sense? Kinda, sorta, but, like, just go with it. So, Araña gets pulled into the fold, as does Madam Web and Julia Carpenter, the second Spider-Woman, who I will talk about another time in another video. Another Spider-Woman as well, called Maddie Franklin, who I really like. I really like this character. Yeah, she dies. She gets sacrificed in that story, unfortunately. So, R.I.P. Maddie Franklin. I know I just introduced you, but now you're dead, so sorry about that. But, who else dies is Madam Web herself, Cassandra Webb, introduced in Marvel Snap in the last, week of the Spider season of Marvel Snap. Yeah, she's canonically dead. The old lady's dead. But when she dies, she passes on her psychic powers to Julia Carpenter. So Madam Web has psychic powers to see the future. This comes with the fact that she is blind and paraplegic, but she can see the future and project psychic visions into people, along with a bunch of other psychic-related powers, and she transfers those powers into Julia Carpenter. Julia Carpenter just had, like, traditional spider powers as well as psychic webs, basically just meaning that she could spin spider webs without organically creating them or mechanically creating them. She just thought of webs appearing and she could create webs. So Madam Web transferred her powers into Julia Carpenter, which gave Julia Carpenter the ability to see into the future and the psychic powers that Madam Web had, but now she's blind. Julia is now blind, and the original Madam Web dies. Julia takes up the mantle of Madam Web and becomes the new Madam Web, kind of in a more secret agent type deal. She's a lot more proactive and a lot more tied into Spider-Man activity. She can still fight and everything like that, but she's a lot more of kind of a, say, a Nick Fury for the Spider people. Why is this relevant? Because Julia Carpenter ends up passing on her current suit to Araña. Julia Carpenter had a black and white suit as Arachne that she wore on her time as the Avengers, and she gave her black and white suit to Araña, which is how we get Araña's black and white suit that you can see in this Marvel Snap variant for her, which came out on day one of her release. After Julia gives her her new suit, Araña decides to go by the name Spider-Girl. Different from Peter Parker's daughter, Spider-Girl, Mayday Parker, she becomes Spider-Girl in the mainline continuity of Earth 616 alongside Peter Parker and everything. She becomes Spider-Girl and got her own miniseries. In this miniseries, her dad ended up dying, getting killed by Red Hulk, and it actually turns out that her dad, as a reporter, actually was friends with the Fantastic Four. So, after her dad died, the Invisible Woman, Sue Storm, and the rest of the Fantastic Four at the time, who was the Future Foundation, kind of adopted her, sort of. They kind of became her godparents because they had such a good rapport and connection with her dad, who was like the unofficial reporter for the Fantastic Four. It's a retcon, but yeah, so as Spider-Girl, when Araña became Spider-Girl, she ended up kind of becoming part of the family with the Fantastic Four. She then ended up getting spider powers again. This happened in an event called Spider Island. So, Spider Island was a Spider-Man event where all of New York simultaneously ended up getting spider powers for no reason. Seemingly no reason. Everyone just got spider powers. And everyone could do what Spider-Man could do. Turns out, it wasn't as miraculous as everybody thought, because it turns out it was a spider virus that would eventually turn everybody into giant monster spiders. And so Spider-Man needed to stop the source of the spider virus and make sure that everyone got cured. Some people actually kept their spider powers though after this happened. Mostly just characters that they wanted to keep around with spider powers. It was very like, you know, selective, and in canon it didn't really make any sense that if they got the antidote they should lose the spider powers. But Añya was one of the ones who kept her spider powers afterwards. So now she got traditional spider powers, all of the powers of Spider-Man, and the ability to organically create webbing. That was one thing that the spider virus allowed everyone to do. And so now she can just continue on as Spider-Girl, but with spider powers again, and way more traditional spider powers as opposed to the Araña spider powers that were a lot more unique. From there, she would end up joining Avengers Academy. She would join the Avengers proper as well. I think she had also become a part of the Young Allies, which is a teenage super team that didn't really get too much to do, but I'm pretty sure that happened before her dad died. Anyway, she became part of the Avengers for a little bit after the whole Avengers Academy thing, and after the whole Spider Island thing, and this eventually led her to becoming part of the Spiderverse event. She didn't really have much going on other than bouncing between a whole bunch of super teams, and the Spiderverse event in 2014 ended up bringing in basically every single Spider-Man throughout the multiverse to fight a group of psychic vampires, multiversal vampires who liked to feed on spider totems. Basically just their excuse to get all the spider people together to fight a common enemy that wanted to eat all spider people throughout the multiverse. That's pretty much it. You would think that with spider totems being a big part of this Spiderverse event, that Añya would be more involved, but no, not really. However, she did team up with the other two Spider-Girls from other dimensions, that being Spider-Girl, aka Mayday Parker, and Spiderling, aka Annie Parker, who was from Spider-Man Renew Your Vows, and they teamed up together at some point during the Spider-Verse event. Then, after the Spider-Verse event finished, where they defeated the multiversal vampires, Añya decided to stick with a bunch of different spider people to create this team called the Web Warriors. The Web Warriors were a group of spider people who didn't really feel like they had a universe to return to or really had a purpose in their universe, and decided to get together as a team of multiversal spider people to take on multiversal Spider-Man related threats that the main Spider-Man couldn't handle on his own. So this team included Spider-Man UK, whose entire universe was destroyed, but you also got fan favorites like Spider-Man Noir, Spider-Ham, and Spider-Man India, and so she became a part of that team for a while, mostly because she didn't really have much to do in 616, and also they kind of needed a place for a lot of the desolate spider people in 616 to kind of, you know, have some kind of purpose. Obviously we got way too many spider people on Earth 616, so giving them some kind of you know, multiversal thing to do just kind of made sense. They ended up fighting a group of multiversal Electros, for example. It's a fun time. Red Warriors is a fun series. And yeah, then eventually we go through a couple of other Spider-Verse events where she pops up, such as Spider-Geddon. However, there was a series called The End of Spider-Verse, which was the latest Spider-Verse event that's happened. There's been a lot of them, which actually involves Añya returning to the alias of Araña. So Anya's Spider-Girl costume ended up getting shredded to bits during one of her missions, and Madam Web explained that Araña's original powers ended up returning to her due to multiversal destiny stuff. This involved what was happening in the End of Spider-Verse event, which included Shafra, who is a multiverse Spider-Man villain associated with Spider-Wasps, who, if you don't know what Spider-Wasps are, they kill spiders. So having a villain based on a spider-wasp, you could imagine they want to go eat and consume and infect a whole bunch of spider people all over the multiverse. So Añya went back to the alias of Araña. She got a new suit provided to her by Webweaver, another multiverse Spider-Man, and she has her original powers back, as well as the powers that she got from Spider Island. So she's got all the classic Spider-Man powers, she's got organic spider webs, but she can also create the exoskeleton again. So now that she's Araña again, she can do basically everything that she could do before, and she has a new costume, which is my personal favorite costume of hers from her time as Araña. I really didn't like her as Spider-Girl personally, so I'm glad she's back as Araña, and I really like her new costume, which is actually featured in her Spotlight variant in Marvel Snap, done by Inhuatli, which looks fantastic. I really love it. I had to get it. So, Araña has been adapted into a few things outside of comics, actually, in a few different ways. She's been in the Spider-Man 2017 cartoon. I haven't watched it, it's not really my thing, but that is where she appears as Spider-Girl. She has also made an appearance in Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse in McGill's Spider Society. You can actually see her when McGill is telling the whole Spider Society to try and get Miles Morales. She is here. She doesn't traditionally look like how she does in the comics. She's portrayed a lot more as like a butch woman. She was I think her design was inspired more from rock climbers, but she looks very cool, and she does something that not a lot of adaptations remember to include, which is that she creates her spider exoskeleton. I really like how it looks in this film. I think it looks really cool, and it's such a shame that it only appears for this one short scene, but they use it effectively where she turns it on as soon as Miles appears in front of the Spider Society, and it's a great gag, but she looks very cool. I hope that they use this design elsewhere at some point. But she also has had a live-action debut, unfortunately. She has appeared in 2024's Madam Web. Infamously, if you know anything about me, my least favorite film maybe of all time. It fails on almost every level. Julia Carpenter, played by Sydney Sweeney, is in this film, and also Maddie Franklin is in here too. So, wow, you got a whole bunch of Spider-Women who are just not used well at all. But I believe Añya Corazon is played by Isabella Marcet. She is just kind of there. She's one of the three girls that's just kind of there that Dakota Johnson's Madam Web has to save in the film, and she doesn't really have that much of a personality. But in the film, they do show that she'll eventually become Araña. Not very well for like a few seconds, and she's just kind of there. I feel like this was very, very wasted casting. I do really like Isabella Marcet. She did a really good job in the recent Alien Romulus, for example. But yeah, she's just kind of there, and we will never see her again, I'm sure, because Madam Web will never get a sequel. Outside of that, Añya hasn't really appeared too much, but it does show that Añya is getting steadily more within the limelight of the Spider-Man lore and appearing in many different things, especially in Marvel Snap. Speaking of Marvel Snap, in Marvel Snap, Araña is a 1-cost, 1-power card that has the text, if you activate, give the next card you play +2 power and move it to the right. So she is another activate card. Activate was a card type that was introduced in this season. You might recognize it from, Symbiote Spider-Man being the season pass card, and Scarlet Spider being the next card up in the Spider season, releasing next week at the time of this recording. Activate is very cool so far, where, instead of an on-reveal that happens immediately, you have to play it down and then activate it yourself, but you can activate it whenever you want. And I think Araña is a very fun way of using the activate, especially in the move archetype. So just like a lot of other Spider-Man characters, she is in the move archetype where she moves a card either on your side or the opponent's side. Specifically, Araña moves your card and then buffs it by 2. So she actually helps buff the cards that you would use in the move archetype, and I think that's very fun. It's exactly kind of what move needs. Her and Madam Web are kind of exactly what move needed, but Araña can also be used just as a general 2+ buff, and she moves things to the right. Like, the move archetype has always had a problem with cards moving to the left a lot of the time, and that being very predictable. So Araña being able to move things to the right whenever you want is fantastic. Giving a buff is fantastic, and she's a 1-cost, so you can play her down early and then you can activate her whenever you want. She's a great 1-cost. It's always hard to make 1-costs that feel like they actually matter in Marvel Snap a lot of the time, but I feel like Araña and Silver Sable from this season of Marvel Snap has really been nailing it. So I really like Araña, and I really can't wait to use her. And yeah, those are my thoughts on Araña. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'm planning on making a lot more, and I'm planning on going back and going through Symbiote Spider-Man, Silver Sable, and Madam Web for this series as well, but I'm also going to try and keep up with all the new cards being introduced in Marvel Snap going forward. So potentially next week or sometime soon at least, I will make a video on Scarlet Spider as well, and I might even go back and go through a lot more of the cards that were introduced in previous seasons or who were already in Snap originally. We'll see how we go, but I hope you all enjoyed this video. If you enjoyed it, please be sure to subscribe to Mayday Going Down. Be sure to like this video and comment what do you think of Araña? Do you like her in Snap? Do you like her character? Did anything here interest you? Do you have questions? Please let me know. If you would like to read about Araña, I would absolutely recommend Amazing Fantasy Volume 2. I'd recommend Spider-Girl Volume 2. And I'd recommend, like, the Spider-Verse events that she was a part of, such as the original Spider-Verse event and the tie-in Spider-Girls. I would recommend Web Warriors, and I would recommend End of Spider-Verse. So, I hope you guys all enjoyed. Be sure to ring that bell, because I am going to be uploading a lot more videos, including like Twitch highlights and other videos like this. I hope you guys really enjoy the content that I've been putting out. Be sure to check out my shorts as well. And catch me live on Twitch. Go follow me on Twitch with the link down in the description. Follow me on all the socials and everything, like my Twitter and my TikTok, and I will see you guys in the next video. I hope you guys all enjoyed this one, and I will see you guys then. Okay, love you all. Bye-bye. Bye. Mayday is going down.